Myra arrived at the Galactic Academy on a quiet morning, though nothing about her presence was truly quiet. The shuttle that carried her looked normal at first glance, but anyone who watched closely would have noticed things that did not make sense. It had no markings, no registration code, and no official file in the Academy arrival logs. It simply drifted in from the far side of the orbital ring as if it had come out of nowhere. The docking crew stared and whispered, confused and unsure whether they should call security. Before they made a choice, the shuttle doors slid open with a soft sigh, and a young human girl stepped out. She looked simple enough. Dark hair tied behind her head, a light travel bag slung over her shoulder, and a face that carried neither fear nor excitement. Her eyes were too calm, almost as if she had already seen everything around her before. She smiled politely at the docking crew, who stiffened in surprise because she seemed completely unfazed by their stares. Humans were not rare at the Academy, but one arriving like this, from a ship without identity, was unusual. And everyone sensed there was something strange about this girl. She introduced herself only as Myra, no last name, no colony name, no homeworld. She showed a small tablet when asked for her registration papers, but the information on it made no sense. There were no past schools, no medical records, no digital certificates, nothing that could prove she existed before this moment. The administration system tried to verify her documents, but each attempt returned a message that the data was unrecognized or non-standard. Still, her acceptance letter was legitimate. Her exam scores were real. Someone high in the Academy had approved her enrollment without any note or explanation. The staff could not argue with that. They simply guided her through the halls, watching her with quiet curiosity. Students from different species stopped speaking as she passed. The Galactic Academy was a huge place full of young minds from every known star system. Some had scales, some had feathers, some floated instead of walked, and some looked human but certainly were not. None of them recognized her face. She did not look like a diplomat's daughter, nor like a trained soldier, nor like a child of one of the big colonies. She looked almost too normal. But there was something impossible to ignore, something in the way she moved. She seemed aware of every single thing around her, every light flicker, every shifting footstep, every soft hum of machinery. It was as if the entire Academy was whispering to her. When she reached the examination hall for new cadets, the instructors expected confusion or nervousness. The tests were known to be very hard. Even the brightest cadets usually needed at least 3 hours to finish. Myra sat down quietly, read the instructions, and began 11 minutes later. She stood up. The room went silent as the system confirmed her submission. The main instructor frowned and tapped his screen, thinking there must have been a glitch. He opened the file. There was no glitch. Every problem had been solved flawlessly. Some were solved in techniques humans did not normally use. One instructor whispered, wondering if she had hacked the system. But the system itself confirmed no tampering. Myra only waited quietly with her hands folded. When asked how she completed everything so fast, she simply said, "I studied." Nothing more. She was placed in class group 7. Which was mostly human with a few students from nearby colonies and allied species. The moment she stepped inside, everyone stared. Some with curiosity, some with suspicion. Humans had gained a reputation across the galaxy for being brave, stubborn, and unpredictable. But even other humans could feel that Myra was different. One boy named Jace leaned over to his friend and whispered, "Not quietly enough. She doesn't look dangerous." Myra turned her head slightly. The boy froze, swallowed, and then looked away as if he had been caught doing something wrong. Myra simply gave a small smile and sat at an empty desk. A girl beside her, a cheerful human named Talia, tried to break the tension. "Hi, I'm Talia. Welcome to Group 7. Where are you from?" Myra paused for just a moment. "Far away," she answered softly. "Oh, which colony?" "Not a colony," Myra said. Talia blinked, confused. She wanted to ask more, but Myra had already turned her attention to the front as the instructor walked in. Throughout the first lessons, Myra behaved politely but spoke very little. She completed every task fast, sometimes before the instructor finished explaining. She wrote notes in a strange shorthand, quick and smooth. During a physics demonstration, where most students struggled to calculate energy output for a simulated burst engine, Myra solved it instantly and even corrected an error in the demonstration model. The instructor stared at her, a bit stunned. Word spread quickly. By midday, cadets from other class groups came to look at the new human girl who broke the exam records. Some whispered that she must be a genius. Others insisted she was probably a genetically modified experiment. A few students claimed she was a spy from a hidden human military group. Some of the alien cadets watched her closely. Curious and cautious, things became more confusing during the combat simulation briefing. New cadets were assigned to test their reflexes and coordination inside a virtual combat chamber. It was a simple practice scenario, one meant to measure baseline abilities. Myra stepped into the simulation booth, not expecting anything unusual. But when the system started her program, the chamber lights flickered strangely. Inside the simulation, Myra moved with impossible speed. She dodged enemy drones before they fully appeared. She hit targets before the system finished projecting their positions. At one point, the simulation tried to adjust its difficulty to challenge her, but the increase happened so fast that the program overheated and crashed. Not only that, but the chamber's internal sensors glitched out, flooding the control room with red error warnings. Instructors rushed to check the equipment. The simulation should never break. It was designed to handle even elite trainees. But Myra had done something to it simply by existing inside the chamber. One instructor stared at her from behind the glass. Myra stood calmly in the center of the room, breathing steadily. She did not look tired at all. If anything, she looked slightly embarrassed. When she stepped out, the head of the combat program asked her directly, "Where did you learn to fight like that?" Myra hesitated, choosing her words very carefully. "I train a lot," she said in a gentle voice. "That is not enough to explain this performance." The instructor replied. Myra simply looked at him with calm eyes. And for some reason he could not ask anything more. Something in her gaze made him uncertain, unsure if he wanted to know the real answer. By evening, the academy cafeteria buzzed with gossip. Myra walked through the busy halls with her tray of food, ignoring the whispers. She selected a quiet corner to sit. A few brave students tried to approach her, but most kept their distance. The Tellery telepaths sat at another table, watching her silently. They usually read surface thoughts from everyone around them without effort, but when they focused on Myra, all they felt was a strange emptiness, like a blank wall. They exchanged nervous looks. Telepaths hated walls. The Varkan fighters, strong and proud, tested every new student they met. They argued among themselves whether Myra should be challenged or left alone. One said she seemed too small to worry about. Another said she was too quiet to trust. The Cillian technocrats were already studying the combat simulation data, trying to figure out how she broke their system. They whispered that she might be using Forbidden's implants. Myra ignored all of them. She ate slowly, thoughtfully, as if she had 1,000 things on her mind, but she did notice something. Whenever she entered a room, conversations dimmed. Whenever she looked up, eyes turned away. She felt the attention, the suspicion, the confusion. She had expected this, but it still made her feel very alone. Later that night, she returned to her small student room, a simple space with a bed and desk. She sat down with a quiet sigh. For a moment, the calm mask slipped from her face. She looked tired, even a little sad. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small device, smooth and silver. With lights that softly pulsed, she touched it gently with her fingertips, and it responded with a warm glow. "Not now," she whispered to it. The lights dimmed. She stared at the ceiling for a long time, her thoughts unknown to anyone. Outside, the academy moved on, unaware that the new girl was carrying a secret much bigger than anyone could guess, and no one knew who she really was, not yet. Myra woke early on her second day at the Galactic Academy, long before the waking lights brightened in the halls. She had slept lightly as she always did. No dreams, no restlessness, only silence. She dressed quietly and stepped out into the corridor, where only a few service drones floated by on their early maintenance routines. The academy felt peaceful at this hour, but she knew it would not last. When she walked into the training courtyard, morning instructors were surprised to see her. Most students avoided early drills unless they were part of the combat division. Myra simply nodded politely and began moving through a warm-up that looked simple but flowed with strange precision. The instructors watched her, confused. Her balance was too perfect, her movements too efficient. It was like watching someone trained since birth to control every part of her body. A tall Varkan trainee named Gorath decided he had seen enough. He approached with long, heavy steps, shadows falling across the courtyard. The Varkan prided themselves on strength, and Gorath was one of the biggest in his group. He crossed his arms and looked down at Myra. "You are the human who broke the combat simulation," he said in a low rumble. Myra paused and looked up at him with a calm expression. "It was not my intention." Gorath grinned, showing sharp teeth. "Then fight me. A simple test. I want to know if the rumors are true." The instructors immediately shouted at him to step back, but Gorath ignored them. Several trainees gathered around, whispering excitedly. Myra did not react with fear or anger. She slowly straightened and gave a small, respectful nod. "If I fight you, someone will get hurt." "I don't want that." Gorath laughed. "You think you can hurt me?" Before she could answer, an instructor forced himself between them. "Enough, you can't challenge new students." He glared at Gorath. "And she hasn't even been placed in combat ranking yet. Back to your group." The Varkan gave Myra one last long look before turning away with a grunt. But his interest had only grown stronger. When classes began, Myra tried to remain unnoticed, but that was impossible now. Her name spread through the academy faster than she could walk between halls. Everywhere she went, conversations quieted. Students stepped aside. Some whispered. Others pretended not to stare. Talia rushed up to her during morning briefing, panting. "Myra, you're all over the academy net." Myra blinked. "What? Someone posted your exam time?" 11 minutes. "And the combat sim breaking down?" "Everyone's talking about it." Myra sighed softly. "I didn't want attention." "Too late," Talia said with a small laugh. "But don't worry. Humans usually get attention here. This is more than usual." Myra looked down for a moment, her voice low. "I hope it fades." But it did not fade. By midday it grew worse. Their first major class was stellar navigation, a subject that combined mathematics, instincts, and piloting knowledge. The instructor, a six-armed Sicilian named Professor Julian, was known for being strict. He disliked when students showed off, and he disliked surprises even more. Myra took her seat quietly at the corner of the room. She tried to avoid the stares from students of other species who had joined out of curiosity. Even Jace and Talia kept glancing at her as if waiting for something strange to happen. Professor Julian began the lesson by assigning a navigation challenge. Each student received a digital puzzle of star routes, gravity wells, and asteroid belts. The task was to plot a safe and fast travel line for a mid-sized ship. Most students groaned. It was a level C exercise, much harder than what first year students normally saw. Myra finished it in 5 minutes. She did not submit immediately. She checked her answer twice, quietly, hoping others would finish before her. But she knew she could not delay too long. When she submitted it, the professor's screen beeped. He frowned and tapped his console. His 4 eyes widened slightly. "Impossible," he muttered. Students began whispering loudly. Professor Julian cleared his throat. "Cadet Myra, please stand." Everyone turned to look at her. Myra stood slowly. "Did you have help?" he asked calmly. "No," she said. "Did you memorize this route before coming here?" "No." "Then how did you solve it so quickly?" Myra hesitated. She could not reveal the truth. She answered carefully, "I just understand travel patterns well." "That is not an answer," the professor said, but every time he tried to challenge her. Her explanation was the same, simple, incomplete, but not a lie. A few alien students murmured nervously. Even among the Academy's most talented, no one solved a level C puzzle that fast dot by the time the class ended. Myra's reputation had grown even more unsettling. Later, when their group walked toward the cafeteria, Jace ran up beside Myra. "Hey, can I ask something?" "Of course," she said softly. "What are you really?" Talia elbowed him. "Jace!" Myra did not seem offended. She simply looked forward, her voice quiet but clear. "I'm human." Jace frowned. "Yeah, but humans don't do the things you do." Myra did not answer. Before the conversation could continue, alarms began ringing through the halls. Students froze. The overhead lights flickered red, and an electronic voice spoke calmly. "Attention! A security disturbance has been detected in Sector Hall F. All cadets remain in your current location." Teachers rushed to seal doors. Everyone whispered nervously. Myra stood still, eyes narrowing slightly. She recognized the pattern of the alarm tones. This was not a normal drill. Talia looked worried. "What's happening?" Jace leaned out the window. "It's the Xenotech vault area." Something triggered their lockdown. Myra felt a cold weight settle in her chest. She already knew what had triggered it. Something had reacted to her presence. A few minutes later, an instructor arrived and ordered everyone to move to an emergency holding area. Myra walked with her group, staying quiet even though her mind raced. When they reached the holding hall, telepaths were already there. A Telari elder approached the officers, speaking in quick, nervous tones. The elder occasionally glanced at Myra. The officers glanced too. Talia whispered, "Why are they looking at you?" Myra kept her expression still. "I don't know." That, at least, was partly true. The doors opened, and a tall Academy security chief entered. "Cadet Myra," he called. The entire hall fell silent. Myra stepped forward calmly. "You are requested by the headmaster." The chief said. Talia grabbed her arm. "Hey, what's going on?" "She didn't do anything." The chief did not answer. He simply gestured for Myra to follow. Myra gently removed Talia's hand. "It's okay." She walked forward without fear, though her heartbeat quickened. She had expected something like this eventually. She just hoped it had not come too soon. The chief led her through long corridors until they reached a heavily guarded door. Behind it was the Sci-Fi vault, where ancient artifacts from lost civilizations were kept locked away. When Myra entered, the headmaster stood near a large containment chamber. Beside him were several researchers, all with tense expressions. Inside the chamber floated a strange device, a metallic sphere marked with glowing lines. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. The moment Myra stepped closer, the sphere glowed brighter. One researcher said. It responded to her presence earlier. "There's no doubt." The headmaster looked at Myra with calm but sharp eyes. "Cadet, is there something you wish to tell us?" Myra looked at the sphere. She knew what it was. She knew why it reacted to her. She also knew that telling the truth would frighten everyone here. "No," she said quietly. "I don't know anything." The sphere pulsed again, brighter than before. One researcher stepped back nervously. "It's resonating with her energy reading. She must have a link to it." The headmaster did not raise his voice. "Myra, objects like this only react to specific genetic signatures." "Ancient signatures? Ones not seen in thousands of years?" Myra's heart tightened. She shook her head. "I can't tell you anything." "Can't?" the headmaster repeated softly. "Or won't?" Before she could answer, an alarm blared again. This one was deeper, more urgent. A voice echoed through the vault. Unidentified cosmic disturbance detected near the Academy's atmosphere. Officers rushed to screens. Data flashed rapidly. "It's not a ship," one officer said. "It's not natural either." Another added. Myra felt her stomach sink. She recognized the pattern. She had hoped she would never see it again. The headmaster stared at the readings, then at Myra. "What is it?" "Do you know?" Myra closed her eyes. For a moment she looked tired, older, as if the weight of the entire galaxy rested on her small shoulders. Then she opened her eyes and spoke in a soft, steady voice. "It's looking for me." The headmaster stiffened. "What do you mean?" Myra stepped closer to the glowing sphere. "Something followed me." It was never supposed to find me here. The researchers exchanged terrified looks. The alarm continued to echo across the academy. The disturbance was getting closer. And for the first time since arriving, Myra's calm expression cracked just slightly. Enough for everyone to realize the truth, whatever she was hiding, whatever had come looking for her. It was far more dangerous than any of them had imagined. The alarm continued to echo through the academy, each pulse shaking the air like a distant heartbeat. Myra stood still in the center of the vault, her eyes fixed on the display screen showing the cosmic disturbance. The shape on the screen was blurred, abstract, but she understood what it meant in a way no one else here could. The disturbance was not a ship or a creature. It was a signal one she had hoped would never reach her again. Outside the vault, the entire academy prepared for lockdown. Cadets rushed through the halls, instructors shouted orders. Telepaths tried to sense what was approaching, and defense officers scrambled to form shield protocols. But no matter how much noise and motion filled the corridors, inside the vault it was silent. The headmaster stepped closer to Myra. His expression was stern, but there was no anger, only confusion and urgency. "Cadet Myra," he said, "you must tell us what's happening." Myra shook her head slowly. "You won't believe me." "We must try," he insisted. "The academy is in danger." Myra looked toward the glowing sphere in the containment chamber. It pulsed again, softer now, almost as if nervous. She felt that familiar pull inside her, an old connection she had tried so hard to break. A researcher whispered to the headmaster, "Her energy signature is matching the artifact. It's rising. This isn't a coincidence." Myra closed her eyes for a moment. Memories rose in her mind like shadows. The long dark corridors of her creator's station. The voices that taught her. The warning that she must never return to the old paths. And the last message she had received before leaving. Asterisk, it will follow your signal. Run far, hide well. Asterisk, she opened her eyes, steady but sad. The disturbance. It knows I'm here. The headmaster stiffened. "What is it?" "A hunter," Myra whispered. "It tracks energy signatures." "Very old ones?" "It found my creators long ago. It destroyed everything." The researchers froze. One dropped his scanner. "Destroyed everything?" Myra nodded. She stepped closer to the screen. The shifting shape of the cosmic disturbance seemed to grow, as if stretching toward the academy. It pulsed slowly, hungry. "It will come for me," she said. "But if it finds me here, it will not stop with me." The headmaster took a deep breath. "Then we need to move you somewhere safe." "No," Myra said quickly. "Running earlier only delayed it. If I run again, it will follow. It will tear through anything in its path." The headmaster looked troubled. "Then what do you suggest?" Myra didn't answer. She didn't know the answer herself. Suddenly, the sphere inside the containment chamber emitted a sharp tone. The lights dimmed. A pulse of energy spread through the room like a wave. The researchers panicked. "It's unlocking." "No!" another shouted. "The containment seal is still active." But Myra understood. The sphere wasn't unlocking itself. It was reacting to the signal. Approaching from space. A holographic projection burst from the sphere, filling the vault with swirling images of star maps, shifting shapes, and ancient energy sequences. The researchers gasped. None of this was in their database. Myra stared at the projection, recognizing the patterns instantly. They were old warnings, old escape routes, old secrets that only her creators understood. "It's showing me what I already know," Myra murmured. The headmaster stared at her. "Your creators. Who were they?" Myra swallowed hard. She had hoped to keep this secret for longer. But now that the disturbance was at the academy's doorstep, she no longer had that choice. "They were human," she said quietly. "But they left the galaxy thousands of years ago. They built a hidden civilization far beyond known space. They were searching for something. And they found it. What did they find?" A researcher asked. Myra looked at him with eyes that suddenly seemed older than her face. "A thing that should never have existed." The headmaster stepped closer. And you, what are you in all this? Myra hesitated. For the first time, she felt truly exposed. I am their last construct, she whispered. A living design. Not just human, but made to survive what destroyed them. The headmaster stared at her in silence. He didn't know what to say. Myra didn't blame him. Before anyone could ask another question, the vault lights flickered again. A new alarm rang, deeper and more urgent than before. The officer at the console shouted, "The disturbance is accelerating. It's entering the outer atmosphere." Myra's heart jumped. It was too soon. It had come faster than she expected. "We have to warn the academy," the headmaster said. "We must prepare defenses." "No," Myra interrupted. "Defense systems won't stop it. Nothing will stop it. It doesn't attack like a ship. It doesn't have a form." Then she pointed to the screen. "Look." The image stabilized for a moment. A swirling mass of darkness, like a hole in reality itself, flickered into view. Its edges rippled like liquid shadow. Its center glowed faintly, like an eye. Several researchers stumbled backward. One whispered, "That's not possible." Myra explained in a soft voice, "It consumes energy, light, life, anything with form or motion. It devoured my creator's entire homeworld." The headmaster looked horrified. "Then why has it not devoured this academy yet?" "Because it hasn't found me directly." Myra pointed to the artifact. "It sensed the sphere's awakening. That's why it's coming." A sudden tremor ran through the floor. Dust drifted from the ceiling. The academy shield alarms roared across the halls. The officers shouted, "Impact on the outer barrier!" Myra stepped back. She could feel the tremors through her bones. She could feel the creature's hunger, its awareness. "It's searching," she whispered. The headmaster grabbed her shoulders gently. "Myra, is there a way to stop it?" Myra looked into his eyes. "I don't know. My creators never defeated it. They only fled." The headmaster exhaled sharply. "Then we must evacuate the academy." Myra shook her head. "Evacuation would kill thousands. It feeds on moving energy. Every ship that launches will draw its attention." The officers listened in shock. They had never dealt with anything like this. The academy was built to defend against armies, pirates, and disasters, but not an ancient, formless predator. The headmaster straightened. "Then I must call an emergency council meeting. Myra, you will join me." Myra followed him reluctantly. She wished she could hide. She wished she could run. But she could not. They reached the council chamber, where leaders of all major departments were gathered. Representatives from different species sat around the table, murmuring anxiously. Telepaths whispered warnings. Cillians checked data. Varkan officers demanded weapons. The headmaster raised a hand. "We must maintain order." He turned to Myra. "Tell them what you told me." Myra stepped forward. She felt dozens of eyes on her, fearful, suspicious, desperate. She spoke slowly in simple words. "A creature is coming. It follows old energy. My creators tried to escape it, but they could not. They made me to survive. And to run." The Varkan commander slammed a fist against the table. "We do not run from monsters." Myra looked at him calmly. "You cannot fight something that has no body." The Tellere telepathist stood trembling. "I tried to sense it, but there is nothing. Nothing at all. It's like my mind touches a hole." Myra nodded. "That's what it is." The Cillian technocrat adjusted her holotablet. "We scanned its shape. We see nothing consistent. No mass. No elements." "That's because it's not a creature," Myra said. "It's a phenomenon. A force. My creators called it a void eater." The council chamber froze. One human officer whispered, "I heard myths about those." "But they weren't supposed to be real." "They are real," Myra said softly. "And one is here now." A deep rumble vibrated through the chamber walls. Lights flickered. A hologram appeared showing the outer shield weakening. The headmaster looked at Myra desperately. "What does it want from you?" Myra lowered her head. She felt the weight of thousands of eyes. "I am the last echo of my creators," she said. I carry their knowledge, their memories, their secrets. It wants to erase everything they left behind. The room fell silent. The outer shields trembled again. The headmaster spoke slowly. Then we must find a way to protect you. Myra shook her head. No, you must protect yourselves. I brought danger here. I must find a way to draw it away. Before anyone could protest, the entire academy shook violently. The lights went out. The emergency red glow flickered on. A siren wailed. Outer barrier compromised. Students screamed in distant halls. Officers ran. Telepaths clutched their heads as waves of emptiness washed through their minds. Myra felt the creature fully now close, hungry. Sensing her, she looked at the council. It's here. Everyone stared at her with fear. Myra took a deep breath. I will face it. Alone if I have to. No one knew what she meant. No one knew how she could possibly stand against something that had swallowed entire civilizations. But when Myra walked toward the exit, her steps were steady because she had known this day would come, because she had been created for this moment, and because she could no longer run from what hunted her. The academy halls were filled with chaos as Myra left the council chamber. Cadets ran in every direction, instructors shouted orders, and lights flickered as systems tried to adjust to the strange energy surrounding the station. But Myra moved with calm steps, her expression steady even as the air trembled with each pulse of the Void Eater's presence. Behind her, the headmaster hurried to keep up. Myra, you cannot face this alone. He called. Myra didn't stop walking. There is no choice. It came for me. If I stay inside the academy, it will pull everything into the void. Officers blocked the path, but Myra simply stepped around them. No one dared touch her. Something in her eyes told them this was bigger than rules or orders. As they entered the central corridor, a massive tremor shook the entire academy. Students fell to the floor. Lights went dark for a moment before emergency systems flickered on. A loud voice came through the comms. Outer barrier failing. Defensive grid is collapsing. Myra stopped and looked at a nearby window. Outside, she saw the black swirling shape pushing against the academy shields. It wasn't a creature with form. It wasn't a ship. It was a shadow in space, a hole that bent the stars around it. Its edges shimmered like liquid darkness, expanding and contracting as if breathing. Students gasped in horror. A telepath clutched her head and cried out, "It's empty!" It's so empty, there's nothing to sense. She collapsed, and her friends carried her away. The headmaster approached Myra, lowering his voice. Tell me what you plan to do. Myra turned her gaze away from the window. I must reach the upper launch platform. I can draw it away from the academy if I expose my energy signature in open space. That is suicide, the headmaster said. Maybe, Myra replied softly. But staying here is worse. He grabbed her arm gently. There must be another way. Myra looked at him with sad eyes. My creators could not find another way. The headmaster felt his chest tighten. He wanted to argue, but a new alarm suddenly echoed from the comms. Power loss in Sector 9. Backup generators failing. The headmaster released her arm. Very well. I will escort you to the launch platform. Myra shook her head. You must stay and protect the students. Before he could respond, a group of cadets rushed toward them, Jace, Talia, Gorth the Varkan, and 2 others. They looked frightened but determined. Myra, we're coming with you. Talia shouted. Myra blinked. No, it's too dangerous. Jace stepped forward. We know, but you don't get to run toward death alone. Gorth cracked his knuckles. If this thing wants you, it must go through us first. Myra felt something warm in her chest. She didn't want them to die, but she also knew she couldn't make them leave. She nodded once. Stay close. And do not touch anything that looks like darkness? Talia swallowed. That sounds terrible. It is. The group began moving through the halls. Emergency lights flashed red. Panels sparked. Energy waves rippled through the corridors with force strong enough to shatter windows. If they were any closer to the disturbance, Myra led them with unwavering footsteps. Every time the Void Eater pulsed, she flinched slightly. As if feeling the pressure directly inside her mind, after several long minutes, they reached a lift leading to the upper platform. But as the doors opened, they froze. The lift was dead. Jace stared at the blank panel. "It's not responding," Gorath growled. "We climb." He pushed open the emergency hatch leading to the maintenance ladder. The wind howled through the shaft as if the Void Eater was sucking the air from the station. They climbed quickly, Myra moving effortlessly while the others struggled to keep their balance. Halfway up, a shockwave hit the academy. The ladder shook violently. Talia slipped and screamed. Myra reached down instantly, catching her arm with impossible speed. Talia looked up, stunned. "How did you—" "Don't look down," Myra said, her voice strangely calm. They continued climbing until they reached the upper platform. When they stepped out, the sight before them made everyone stop in fear. The sky outside was filled with swirling blackness. The stars were gone. The Void Eater had spread across half the visible atmosphere, pressing against the academy like a giant shadow. Energy arcs snapped along the shield edges as the barrier bent inward. Jace whispered, "It's eating the light." Myra walked out onto the platform, feeling the cold wind hit her face. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. The others stayed behind, watching her nervously. "What now?" Gorath asked. Myra pointed toward the edge of the platform. "I must release an energy signal. My creators designed me with it. It will attract the Void Eater. Once it focuses on me, it may ignore the academy long enough for you to restore the shields." Jace stepped forward. "Wait, you're saying you're going to deliberately call it?" "Yes," Talia grabbed her hand. "Myra, you'll die if it reaches you." Myra looked at her. "Maybe, but everyone here will die if I don't." Talia didn't let go. "We'll find another way." Myra lowered her eyes. "There is no other way." Gorath opened his mouth to argue, but the Void Eater pulsed again, and a part of its shadow stretched toward the academy. The shield flickered dangerously. One more hit, and it would break. Myra stepped to the center of the platform. Soft silver lines formed on her skin, glowing faintly, matching the patterns on the ancient sphere. The others gasped. Jace whispered, "You're lighting up." "It is my signal," Myra said. She raised both hands slowly. The air vibrated around her. A soft hum grew louder and louder, filling the platform with a strange resonance. Her hair lifted slightly as energy gathered around her. The Void Eater stopped. Then it turned. A massive tendril of darkness stretched toward Myra like a giant reaching hand. Talia screamed, "Myra, stop!" But Myra didn't stop. She stepped forward, lifting her face toward the swirling void. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm here." The tendril surged forward with terrifying speed. Jace and Gorath jumped in front of her by instinct, but the tendril passed through them harmlessly, like cold smoke. They fell to their knees, shaking. The darkness closed around Myra. For a moment, her body flickered with silver light, pushing back the void. She gritted her teeth, struggling to hold the signal steady. The Void Eater shuddered. Confused, Myra's existence was both familiar and wrong to it. Talia cried out, "She's fighting it!" Gorath roared, "Myra, do not fall." Myra's voice shook as she yelled, "Get back! All of you!" They hesitated. Then the Void Eater lashed out again. This time the impact hurled Myra backward. She hit the platform hard, sliding across the floor. The silver light on her skin dimmed. Jace rushed to her side. "Myra, stay with us." She opened her eyes weakly. "It's stronger than before. It has grown since the last time." Before she could finish, the academy crackled. The headmaster shouted through the channel, "Myra! The artifact, the sphere, it's changing. It's reacting to you." Myra's eyes widened. The sphere, of course, her creators had not left her alone. She struggled to stand. "I need the artifact." "Bring it here." The headmaster responded, "We are on our way." Another tremor shook the station. The Void Eater's tendril struck the shield, cracking it. Time was running out. Myra stood again, silver light slowly returning to her skin. She faced the swirling void. She whispered to herself, "I am not alone. Not this time." And as her friends gathered behind her, terrified but loyal, She prepared for the final confrontation. The Void Eater came closer. The artifact was on its way. Myra knew that everything, her creator's legacy, the Academy, her own life, would be decided in the next moments. The platform shook under Myra's feet as the Void Eater pressed harder against the Academy's shields. The air felt heavy, almost difficult to breathe, and every few seconds a deep vibration moved through the floor like the station itself was crying in pain. Myra stood tall despite the shaking, her glowing lines returning slowly as she waited for the artifact to arrive. Her friends stayed close, though fear trembled in their eyes. Jace stood ready beside her, gripping his stun baton even though he knew it would do nothing. Talia kept glancing at the swirling blackness in the sky, whispering nervous words. Goreth stayed like a wall behind them, trying to hide the worry in his deep growl. "Are you sure the sphere will help?" Jace asked. Myra did not look away from the void as she answered. "I hope it is the last gift my creators left. It was made for this moment, or something like it." Talia hugged her arms around herself. "That thing is so big. It's like the whole sky is fading." The Void Eater's shadow stretched again, sliding down toward the platform like a giant dark wave. The Academy's shield shimmered but held for now. Myra felt pressure build in her chest as the creature focused fully on her. She whispered, "Hurry." The sound of footsteps echoed from behind. The headmaster and 2 officers appeared, carrying the glowing sphere inside a protective case. Even through the container, the artifact shone with a soft white light that pulsed like a heartbeat. "Myra!" the headmaster called. "It began activating before we opened the vault. It has not done this before." Myra stepped forward quickly. "Give it to me." The officers hesitated, but the headmaster unlocked the case. The moment he handed it to Myra, the light inside grew brighter. The sphere reacted to her touch immediately, its surface moving like liquid metal. Talia stared in awe. "It knows her." Myra held the sphere close to her chest and closed her eyes. The platform grew silent, except for the rumbling void above them. A soft wind circled around Myra as the lines on her skin glowed brighter and brighter. The sphere pulsed once, then again, then its light surged outward. A wave of white energy burst across the platform, knocking her friends back a few steps. Myra did not move. Her feet stayed firmly planted as the sphere merged its light with hers. Silver and white lines danced across her skin in patterns none of the others could understand. The headmaster whispered, "Incredible." Myra opened her eyes. They glowed with the same silver-white light. "I know what to do now," she said softly. The Void Eater shuddered as if sensing the change. More tendrils of darkness stretched toward the platform, twisting like angry storm clouds. Jace grabbed Myra's arm. "Whatever you're planning, don't do it alone. We can help." Myra turned to him with a gentle smile. "You already have." "You stayed," Goreth growled. "We stay with you until the end." Myra shook her head. "If you stay near me, the void will harm you." "I need space, please." "Trust me." Talia wiped her eyes. "Come back after this? Okay?" Myra hesitated for a moment. "I'll try." She stepped away from them, walking to the very edge of the platform. The void's tendrils hissed as they neared her, reacting to the bright sphere she held. Her glowing eyes fixed on the swirling mass, she whispered to herself, "This is our final moment." Then she lifted the sphere over her head. A beam of white light shot into the sky. It tore through the shadow, cutting a path straight into the center of the Void Eater. The creature roared not with sound, but with trembling force that made the entire Academy shake. Myra stood firm, pouring all of her energy into the sphere. The lines on her skin burned brighter, brighter, until they were blinding. Her friends shielded their eyes. The Void Eater shrieked in silent fury, its darkness spiraling wildly as the beam pierced deeper. The swirling void cracked like fragile glass. The headmaster shouted over the vibration, "She's breaking it apart!" But just then, Myra stumbled. Her glow flickered. Jace shouted, "Myra!" "Hold on!" A tendril of darkness whipped toward her. Before it reached her, Goreth ran forward, grabbing a metal beam and slamming it into the tendril. It passed through him, but the impact slowed it enough to miss Myra. Goreth fell to his knees, gasping. "Do not touch her." Talia and Jace rushed to him, trying to pull him back. Myra turned her head slightly. "Thank you." She focused again. The sphere responded to her renewed strength. Flashing with a burst of light that pushed the void away, the Void Eater shrieked again as its form cracked wider. A storm of white and black energy spun around Myra, lifting her feet slightly off the ground. The Academy shields finally failed, but it no longer mattered. The bright energy from Myra and the sphere formed a new barrier of silver and white, protecting the station. Myra felt the last of her strength leaving her. But as she looked toward her friends watching her, believing in her, she remembered something her creators never had. She remembered hope. She screamed as she released the final surge. The entire sky exploded with light. A giant white wave blasted outward, swallowing the void. The Void Eater cracked, shattered, and dissolved into tiny streams of darkness that vanished like smoke in wind. The explosion pushed Myra backward. She fell hard, the sphere rolling from her hands. Silence followed, slowly. The stars returned to the sky. The Academy lights flickered back on. Jace was the first to move. He ran to Myra, dropping to his knees. "Myra, please wake up." Talia fell beside him, sobbing. "She saved everyone. Please don't let her die." Goreth limped forward, placing a heavy hand on Myra's shoulder. "Rise, warrior?" The headmaster looked down sadly. She may have given too much. Just as despair began to surround them, the sphere blinked. A tiny flash of silver light spread across the floor, reaching Myra's skin. Her fingers twitched. Talia gasped. She moved. Slowly, Myra opened her eyes. The silver glow was gone, replaced by her normal soft human gaze. Jace let out a shaky breath. "You scared us so much." Myra weakly smiled. "I am still here." The headmaster gently helped her sit up. "You saved the Academy? You saved all of us." Myra looked around. At the stars returning to the sky, at her friends holding her. At the Academy she once feared to enter, softly. She whispered, "I'm not alone anymore." Days passed. Repairs began. The story of the strange girl who fought the void spread across the galaxy. Some called her a hero. Others called her a miracle. The council invited her to join as an instructor. They believed her knowledge of ancient human secrets could help protect the galaxy, but one night, Myra visited her friends on the same platform where she made her stand. "I'm staying," she told them. "For now. There's still much I want to learn here. Much I want to understand about being human," Jace grinned. "Then welcome to the team." Talia wrapped her arm around Myra's shoulder. "And don't you dare walk into danger alone again?" Goreth nodded. "We fight with you, always." Myra looked at her friends, feeling that warm spark in her chest again. She whispered, almost to herself, "Humans always find a way." And for the first time, Myra truly believed it.